Amid growing trade war tensions in the Pacific, President Trump begins his Asian tour with a major Malaysian deal. As the U.S. deploys a carrier and a destroyer in the Southern Caribbean, Democrat officials take the wrong side of yet another 70-30 issue. And California Governor Gavin Newsom announces he doesn't want the federal government observing how his state conducts its elections as he prepares for a post-midterm presidential run. I'm Tony Kinnett, host of the Daily Signal's Tony Kinnett Cast, syndicated nationally at 7 p.m. Eastern. It is Monday, October 27th, 2025. This is the Daily Signal's top news in 10. Yesterday, President Donald Trump arrived in Kuala Lumpur to the 47th ASEAN Summit, which began with a little dancing with some of the officials in Malaysia. At the summit, the President of the United States secured trade deals with Malaysia and Cambodia, secured a joint trade agreement with Thailand and Vietnam, elevated U.S.-Malaysian relations, which he suggested would bring billions of dollars in investment to the United States, and brokered the Kuala Lumpur Peace Accords. The Kuala Lumpur Peace Accords was brokered by the President of the United States between the two nations of Thailand and Cambodia, one of the many peace or ceasefire agreements the President of the United States has brokered since taking office for his second term in January. Here were his comments about his record compared to that of the United Nations after signing the accords.
I won't forget that day because it was one of the first wars that I got involved in, and I love doing it. It's like, I shouldn't say it's a hobby because it's so much more serious than a hobby, but it's something that I'm good at, and it's something I love to do. The United Nations should be doing this, but they don't do it. They don't do it. They turned off my teleprompter when I made a speech. I had to make a speech without a teleprompter. They're good at that. The escalator wasn't working too well. It came to a complete halt.
And in the case of growing tensions in the Southern Caribbean, after the United States had begun a policy of striking narco-terrorist boats, leaving known drug-based ports off of northern Venezuela, the United States has dispatched one carrier, the Gerald Ford, as well as a destroyer, the Gravely, into the Southern Caribbean. The USS Gravely docking in Trinidad for joint exercises near the Venezuelan coast. So Congress did what it always does in times of uncertainty. It took to the Sunday shows to complain or to support the administration in its particular efforts. Senator Mark Kelly went on ABC's This Week to express his displeasure and concern for the United States effort of striking narco-terrorist boats in the Southern Caribbean.
It's questionable, and the White House and the Department of Defense could not give us a logical explanation on how this is legal. They were tying themselves in knots trying to explain this. We had a lot of questions for them, both Democrats and Republicans. It was not a good meeting. It did not go well. They have a secret list of 24 organizations that they have now authorized to use kinetic action against without the normal approach that we have for law enforcement. Hey, we don't want drugs in this country, especially fentanyl. But all these drugs, we should be working really hard to interdict them and prosecute the individuals that are smuggling drugs.
Meanwhile, on the flip side, Senator Lindsey Graham, Republican of South Carolina, expressed his support for the administration and his lack of concern with how the administration's transparency on the Southern Caribbean strikes is affecting foreign policy.
You said to the men and women of the military that they are carrying out lawful orders. Yeah. Secretary Hegseth removed the top uniformed lawyers in the Air Force. You know this, the Navy and the Army, because he called them roadblocks to orders that are given by a commander-in-chief. There have been other departures as well. This raises concern that commanders are not being given adequate legal counsel. That is why you just said that sentence, to assure them.
That's garbage. That's absolute garbage.
Which? Hegseth said that?
Trump doesn't have the... No, I'm saying that the theory that President Trump's doing something here illegally, dealing with a country that's run by an indicted drug dealer, it's the same as Panama. There's a better case to go into Venezuela than there was Panama. There's a better case to deal with Colombia than there was Grenada. Yeah, I've been doing this all of my adult life. I have all the confidence in the world that President Trump has the legal authority, but more importantly, he's doing the right thing. More Americans have died from cocaine and fentanyl poisoning than any terrorist group in the world. I am very pleased that we now have a president who's going to use the full force of the American people, the might of America, to protect us from narco-terrorist states and drug organizations. Keep it up, Mr. President. We're not committing murder. We're protecting our nation from people who want to poison us.
Based on the latest Harvard-Harris poll, this appears to be an issue that Americans are decidedly set on, another 70-30 issue, if they will. According to the latest Harvard-Harris poll, 71% of Americans back the United States government striking narco-terrorists and perhaps Venezuelan-backed narco-terror efforts in the Southern Caribbean and Northern South America. And lastly, California Governor Gavin Newsom is in a rather interesting bit of controversy after suggesting he might run for presidential office after the midterm elections next year, but because of how he characterized his financial status growing up.
But also, it was also about paying the bills, man. And it was just like hustling. And so I was out there kind of raising myself, turning on the TV, started, just getting obsessed, sitting there with the Wonder Bread and 5 stacks of.
Hey, it's like the White Stack 5 story.
Come on. Kraft macaroni and cheese.
Bro. Are you talking about me?
Young YG.
YG, man.
Every day in the backyard, just bouncing the basketball, throwing the ball against the wall until the ball is just like fraying, man. And your arms yourself. That's it, whole thing. So just, and then, then this student that was shitty student is in the back with his head down, all of a sudden started throwing the baseball a little faster than everyone else and started, make a few free throws because I was sitting there practicing 500 of them every damn night. And in high school, I look up in the stands, my dad's back up there.
Okay, dope.
And it's like, man, and then he's bringing his friends and you're captain of the team and you're like, geez, and it just saved me and it got me into college.
Just for the sake of accountability, for those who are watching the show instead of just listening to it, here is a photo that appeared in a 2019 article showing Gavin Newsom with Paul Mohan, Andrew Getty, and Billy Getty posting for a, quote, Children of the Rich, end quote, feature that ran in the San Francisco Chronicle on December 12th, 1991. Newsom's father was, throughout Newsom's childhood, a personal lawyer for the rather wealthy Getty family. Although, to be rather honest with you, I don't really see what Wonder Bread is supposed to have to do with being wealthy. Wonder Bread's delicious. Governor Newsom is also under scrutiny for comments made over the weekend at a tech conference in which he suggested that the Department of Justice has no business sending individuals from the Department of Justice to observe the elections of the Proposition 50 in California here in a couple of weeks.
And I was just on the line because the DOJ is being sent out to California to monitor our election. I have an election in November, Prop 50, a statewide election. They have no business, no jurisdiction to monitor it.
Here was a video posted one day prior where Newsom articulates why he's concerned about the Department of Justice monitoring California elections.
So today, the Trump administration announced they're sending election monitors to 5 specific counties here in the state of California. They have no business doing that. They have no basis to do that. In fact, we have a statewide election for a statewide constitution. This is about voter intimidation. This is about voter suppression, period. Full stop. And it's a pattern, isn't it? It's consistent with what they've done with the federalization of the National Guard and the intimidation and the chill that's created. They'll do that right around Election Day as well. Same thing with ICE and Border Patrol, masked men. Watch that space, showing up in and around polling booths and voting places. But this is a bridge too far. And I hope people understand it's a bridge that they're trying to build, the scaffolding for all across this country in next November's election. They do not believe in fair and free elections. Our republic, our democracy is on the line. We all need to wake up.
Before you go, head down to the description and make sure you're subscribed to the Tony Kinnett Cast. And join us tonight at 7 p.m. Eastern for a roundup of the day's news and nonsense. I'm Tony Kinnett, and this has been the Daily Signal's Top News in 10.